It is dawn on August 19th, 1942. The English Channel is flat and gray. Somewhere in the darkness off the coast of Nazi-occupied France, nearly 5,000 Canadian soldiers are sitting in landing craft, waiting. Most of them are from Ontario and Quebec. Most of them have never seen combat. They have trained for 2 years for an operation exactly like this one. A beach landing, a seizure of a port, a demonstration to Stalin that the Western Allies are capable of striking the European mainland. They have been told the operation is well planned, that the element of surprise is on their side, that air support and naval fire will suppress the German defenses before the boats hit the beach. At 5:12 in the morning, the first Canadian soldiers step onto the pebbled beach at Dieppe. Within 9 hours, 907 of them are dead. 1,946 are prisoners of war. The casualty rate is 68%, the highest of any major Allied operation in the entire Second World War. The element of surprise was not on their side. British intelligence had received a warning, days before the raid launched, that the Germans may have known it was coming. They sent the men anyway. They knew. To understand Dieppe, you need to understand the summer of 1942. The war was going badly. Germany controlled most of continental Europe. The United States had just entered the conflict after Pearl Harbor, but was not yet a significant force in the European theater. And Joseph Stalin was furious. The Soviet Union was bearing the full weight of the German war machine on the Eastern Front. Millions of Soviet soldiers were dying. Stalin had been demanding a second front, a major Allied invasion of Western Europe for over a year. Churchill and Roosevelt kept promising it and kept delaying. The pressure was immense. British military planners believed a large-scale raid on the French coast would serve several purposes. It would demonstrate to Stalin that the Allies were capable of offensive operations. It would test German coastal defenses and gather intelligence on how a future full-scale invasion might succeed. And it would satisfy the growing public and political demand for action. The target chosen was Dieppe, a mid-sized port on the Normandy coast, defended by a cliff-top casino converted into a German strongpoint, with open, pebbled beaches that offered no cover for advancing troops. In hindsight, the choice of location seems almost designed to fail. In the summer of 1942, it seemed like the best available option. The operation was called Jubilee. It had originally been planned under a different name, Rudder, and then cancelled in July 1942 after German aircraft attacked the convoy assembled for it, apparently by coincidence. Most military commanders would have considered a cancelled operation dead. The element of surprise, the central pillar of any beach landing against a defended position, had almost certainly been compromised. Lord Louis Mountbatten, the head of combined operations, revived it. The revised plan called for a frontal assault on the beach at Dieppe, flanked by commando attacks on German gun batteries to the east and west. There would be no preliminary naval bombardment. Planners feared it would destroy the port infrastructure they were supposed to be demonstrating they could capture. Air support would compensate. The Canadians would be the primary assault force. The 2nd Canadian Infantry Division, commanded by Major General John Hamilton Roberts, had been in Britain for 2 years without seeing action. Roberts had lobbied hard for his men to be given a role. They were given this one. Roberts was not told everything that Mountbatten knew. The intelligence file that had accumulated over the summer, reports suggesting German awareness of the operation, intercepts indicating heightened coastal alert status, was not fully shared with the Canadian commanders. The men loaded onto the boats on the night of August 18th. Here is what the declassified files tell us. In the weeks before Operation Jubilee launched, British signals intelligence, operating under the Ultra program at Bletchley Park, had intercepted communications suggesting that German coastal forces in the Dieppe area had been placed on heightened alert status. The specific nature of that intelligence and precisely what British commanders drew from it remains a serious historical debate. Some historians argue the warnings were ambiguous, consistent with routine German caution rather than specific foreknowledge of the raid. Others, particularly Canadian historian David O'Keefe, argue the evidence is more damning, that Mountbatten and senior British planners had enough information to know the risk was unacceptably high, that the decision to proceed anyway was driven not by military necessity but by political pressure. The need to show Stalin something, anything, before the summer was over. What is not in dispute is this. The German defenders at Dieppe were ready. When the first Canadian soldiers hit the beach at 5:12 a.m., German machine gun positions opened fire immediately. There was no confusion, no delay, no evidence of surprise. The men were cut down on the pebbles before many of them reached the seawall. Someone knew they were coming. The question that Canadian historians have spent 80 years trying to answer is who in London knew that someone knew and said nothing. The Royal Regiment of Canada landed at WWII, a small beach east of Dieppe, 6 minutes late. 6 minutes was enough for the German garrison to be fully awake, armed, and positioned. The Royals were destroyed on the beach. Of the 554 men who landed at WWII, 227 were killed and 264 were prisoners of war. The casualty rate was 68%, the highest of any major Allied operation in the entire Second World War. The element of surprise was not on their side. The on-beach commander, Major John Hamilton Roberts, claimed he never received the uncertainty destroyed. Other historians argue that Mountbatten and senior planners used the experience of the 2nd Canadian Infantry Division to demonstrate the tactical failures needed to be avoided in future operations. The preservation of key British resources suggests that one of the purposes of Dieppe was to test German response without exposing the best of the British military. This strategy ensured that if the raid went wrong, it would be Canadian lives used for the intelligence gain. The question of who knew what happened at Dieppe remains a central mystery in Canadian military history. A mystery that some of the survivors tried to explain for decades. In our next video, we'll explore how a man arrived in Alberta in 1882. No money, no land, no connections. Within 20 years, he had built one of the most successful cattle operations in the province. His horsemanship was legendary. His name was spoken with something close to awe. He was black, in a time and place where that was used as a reason to deny a man almost everything. Almost. John Ware. That's next.